Hi, and welcome to MockCat. Today we are going to be talking about IIM Kozhikode. The stage 1 shortlist has come out. Now it's important to understand that this is not the call for interview. The email that you see in front of your screen, such an email has been sent to every CAT registrant who's cleared the minimum requirements. This means that the minimum cutoffs, which are there for IIM Kozhikode, the overall percentile as well as the sectional percentiles, depending on your category, provided you've got more than that, you're going to be getting such an email. Now, once we have this email, there's a particular form which we need to fill anytime by 10th Jan. And everyone who's interested has to fill this form. And once every candidate fills this form, what's going to happen is then they're going to calculate the composite score for all of the students. And based on that, they are going to actually shortlist the students for the interview. So we'll take a look at the form also. It's a fairly simple form which we need to fill. It's more of, like I said, an expression of interest. But let's look at what are the minimum criteria that IIM Kozhikode has set. Now, this is the, these are the details which are available on their website itself. You have the link over here. We'll also put this in the description box so that you can take a look at it. But essentially, you can see that for every category, general, OBC or EWS, SC, ST, PWD, for all of these, there is a certain minimum. Now, if I look at general, for example, you need to get at least an 85 percentile overall, and you need to get at least 75 in all the three sections. So that means you need to get 75 or higher in VARC, DILR as well as Quant. And then when it comes to ACADS, you need to have scored at least 60% in both your 10th and 12th marks. Along with our 10th and 12th, we also need to get a minimum of 60% in graduation. Now, while anybody who has 50% or higher is eligible for CAT, and there are many IIMs which will consider that or other institutes which consider that, IIM Kozhikode, for example, has set a minimum of 60%. So which means that if you're a general candidate, you need to get at least 85 percentile overall, 75 percentile in each section, and 60% in 10th, 12th and your college. Now you can figure out what it is based on each section. Of course, if you've cleared the cutoffs, you've already received this email, so you know that you're in the clear. Again, just to repeat, this does not mean that you have been shortlisted for the interview. This is more like an expression of interest. So what that basically means is, so let's take someone like me, right? I've already graduated from IIM Lucknow. I'm just taking the exam for the experience. So I'm not going to actually fill this expression of interest form. So this means that they are not going to consider me when they are calling people or when they are releasing their shortlists. So that is all this means. This is also something which they've made quite clear out here. Now, once the last date is done, then they are going to come up with the shortlist for students for the VAT and the interview, and that is something which will happen sometime after Jan 21st. So the composite score or the aggregate index score as they call it is essentially a weighted average of these things. So there's a 45% weight for the indexed CAT 2022 score. I'm not going into details of how we calculate it. Just think of it as your CAT score. It's pretty close. And then there's 25% weightage to the 10 standard score. So especially those of you who have a really high score in 10th and of course a high score in CAT can expect to get a call. There's 15% weightage for 12th, and there's also 10% weightage for diversity. Now this could be gender diversity, which means females, I guess transgenders also. And this also means academic diversity, which is essentially non-engineers. So a male non-engineer, let's say a male commerce student would also get it. A female, even a female engineer would get this 10%. So essentially any one of these, if you check the box, then you're getting that 10% weightage, which is like 10 marks you are getting. For someone say, a male engineer, someone who's not getting the gender diversity as well as the academic diversity would get 0 points over here. There's also 5% weightage for work experience. Now we'll also quickly look at how the work experience is considered. Now Annexure 1 is where we are getting to know how the work experience score for which we are getting 5% weightage is calculated. So if you have work experience of less than 6 months, you're not really getting anything. You'll get a score of 0. Similarly, if you have a work experience of 61 months or higher, which is to say more than 5 years, again you're getting a score for 0. The rationale for this is probably that, if you have a higher work experience, they probably want to encourage students to opt for the 1-year executive MBA course or something like that. Right? Now the highest score, which is a score of 5, goes to anyone who has completed 35 or 36 months, that is to say 3 years of work experience. The rest of it now, you can see the score over here. So depending on how many months you've worked, if you work for 20 months, for example, you're getting a 2.5. Now you're also going to get, let's say, a 2.6 out here if you work for 4 years, that is 48 months. So it's like a bell curve essentially. So this is the score that you get for work experience for those of you who don't have any, or who have maybe, you know, a small amount, a few months of work experience. You don't need to stress out too much because the weightage is only 5%. The main thing out here is of course a CAT score, and then the second highest, like I was saying, is the 10th marks. Now very quickly, we'll also look at what is it going to be after the interview. Now there's going to be a written ability test as well as an interview. So based on that, the final score which is going to be calculated, there's 35% weight for the personal interview. There's another 35% weight for the CAT score. So now you can understand why the CAT exam or prepping for the CAT exam is so important. It had the highest weightage when it came to shortlisting us, and again it has the highest weightage even when it comes to the final selection. So the CAT score 35%, interview, the score that you'll get in your interview, another 35% weightage for that, 20% weightage for the written aptitude test or written ability test, and there's also 10% weightage for the resume score. So let's understand what exactly is this resume score, right? Now this is also something which they've mentioned. In case if the ranking of the institute, the NIRF ranking of the institute where you've studied is anywhere from 1 to 30. So if you've done engineering, if it's, you know, you've done it from, let's say, any institute where it's ranked in the top 30, or if you've done commerce, again, if it's from any institute that's ranked in the top 30, so something like that, then you're going to get 4 points. Another way in which you can get points for the resume score is if you are, you have a CA certification or ICWA or CS. They'll also consider CFA. Now CFA is something which they'll consider even if you have maybe completed just level 1. So level 1, level 2, level 3, all of these are fine, right? So these are the things which can also give you an additional boost when it comes to the final selection. So right now, let's take a look at the form that we need to fill in. It's a short one, so we'll try to do it right here. So you just click on the link that's provided. You need to enter your CAT registration number, your email ID. Now this has to of course be the email ID with which you have registered for CAT, and then the verification. And then you'll get some details about, your CAT, your mail ID, all of these things. And then you need to fill in this personal data form. Now let's look at the personal data form. Now when you click on generate new passcode, you get two options, right? Email or SMS. So let's go for email. And my passcode is 106525. So let's go for that. So once you fill it, you'll see that a lot of the information which you've already filled in the CAT form will pop up. So you don't need to type it out again. So you go for your communication address. So just press something. And then you continue. Now again, you can just verify your marks. You can't actually change them. This is essentially based on what you've already filled in the CAT form. You need to, if there is some change, then you need to punch this in. Obviously, this helps you in case if you have made any error, right? So if by mistake, for example, instead of 92, I had punched in 82, for example, or any mistake which I had made, I could basically fill this in. But you need to upload the document. So you need to upload your mark sheet. So for now, I've just uploaded some random file. So let's just save and continue. Now again, for engineering, now I need to share my branch. Just trying to find mine. Yeah, thankfully it's there. Otherwise, you can always select other and type it. You'll need to put in the details. So I'll just put in mine. I don't really remember. I'm just putting in some numbers. Now, as you can see, even if you're in a 3-year course, you can always punch in the details only for your first and your second year. Similarly, if you're in the pre-final year for a 4-year course, you might stop at your 3rd year if you don't have the marks for your final year or you are in your final year. That's fine. As long as you're graduating before you need to start your MBA, that's good enough. So actually this one I do remember. I think it was 90. Not that it matters much. We just put in some random numbers. Only reason I remember my first year score is because I had to change my branch from mechanical to computer science. So I needed to get a minimum score for that. Now, as you can see, this is something which is already put in. This is going to be the same. whether you've completed your graduation. For me, it's yes. Is it an integrated degree? No. And then I save and continue. Now, for me, I'm not a CA or anything like that. So again, no. If you have it, then you need to fill in yes. And probably you'll be asked to share the details or upload the documents. Again, going with no. Postgraduate qualification. Now, obviously, I have a postgraduate qualification. For now, let's just fill in no just to see how it is. Now, again, work experience, you can add the details. You'll basically have to attach certain documents. So let's say, for example, if I have to add MOCAT, it's, since there's no education, I'll just put in as others. Just adding my designation, reporting into, not really reporting into, but that's okay. So let's say I put in, of course you need to put in the exact details and all that. So for now, let's say it's 1 lakh, and then you will get these details from essentially your company, right? So for those of you who are working, you can upload the details. So you would have a confirmation, which ideally should be on your company letterhead, which would mention maybe how long you've been working, what is your designation, and so on. So there is no hard and fast format really, but then if you don't have this, right, you can also put in your first payslip. So the payslip for the first month when you joined, and your last payslip. So this could be, the payslip for the last month. So this could be for November, for example, right? So these are generally things which, for a lot of companies are uploaded in portals. So you can just download and get it. Whereas an experience certificate might be something which you have to, ask your organization. I definitely recommend that, certain things like your joining letter, maybe if you work for more than a year, if you have any, performance review letters or all of that, your last 3-month or last 6-month pay slips. These are things which you definitely should keep, because it's not just the only IIM. A lot of institutes are going to ask for these details, and once you join, again, companies will also ask for these details. One of our students, their company actually asked them for the 6-month pay slips, right? So not just for 3 months, for pay slips for 6 months. So it's better to keep these things with you now. But coming back to this, these are the things which you should essentially attach. So for those of you who don't have work experience, of course, you don't need to update anything. So now, for example, if I'm not filling in anything, again, those of you who have it, fill it. Those of you who don't, this obviously cannot be mandatory, because a lot of people applying are freshers or people who've not been working. Now once that is done, you accept the declaration and then you submit it, and then it's done. So as you can see, it's a quick process. What you need to have on hand are your mark sheets, your work experience related documents, and so on. The rest of it, they are automatically taking from the CAT form, but do check that part and make sure that the details are correct, right? If some of you have incorrectly filled it, this is a good window for you to basically correct it. And once you share the documents, that's of course something which you have proof for. So that's it for this video. For those of you who've got the IIM Kozhikode Stage 1 email, all the best to you. And I really hope that you get you clear it and you actually get the Stage 1, the Stage 2 shortlist as well. For those of you who've not got IIM Kozhikode, all the best to you guys as well. Hopefully, you end up getting a lot of other shortlists, maybe even better shortlists. And in case if your CAT score is a little bit on the lower side, then stay tuned on this channel. We're going to be putting up some videos on that. What should your strategy be? How you attempt decision making, and how do you end up getting a good score in that? That again is another exam where you can get a lot of these school calls from. So all the best to you. Now, if you like this video, please like it. Definitely subscribe, because we're going to be putting up a lot more content about exam strategy, interviews, and just the basics of CAT and MBA.